Now, welcome everyone to the Revolving Couch. Today's going to be a bit different from our usual commentary. Today we're having a bit of a discussion video podcast thing about Guilty Gear Strive and all general thoughts on it. But I think
it sucks.
That's going to be the TLDR. But let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we?
Yes.
I think we should probably begin with how we got into Guilty Gear, so everyone here can get an idea of where we're coming from.
Yeah. Also, should we sound off on who's here exactly?
Yes. I'm Brian. I'm here. I know Rob, George, and
George is me.
Yeah. George is him. I'm Robert. I don't think
I'm making my debut.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin's here for the first time on the channel. Actually, he's part of the reason why I am into Guilty Gear now, so I guess he should go first on this.
Oh, really? I mean, I'm a Canadian, so I go last. Not really, but yeah.
So how did?
Well, I got around to Guilty Gear when I started playing Blaze Blue around the tail end of middle school. I was very bad at it, just as I was with Blaze Blue, but I got into it with Axing 4 and Exerd. And it's pretty much been that way ever since. Not really too much to go off from. It's just kind of self-explanatory. You get into a fighting game the way that you usually do.
Alright. I guess for me, it was that in high school, I started hanging out with you, Kevin, out in the halls and whatnot. And originally we just played a lot of Blaze Blue, and I was like, okay, I'm playing a lot of Blaze Blue and whatnot. And you have this weird other game made by the same company that made Blaze Blue. It's like, I don't mind messing around with that. And then after a bit of a while, it's like, no, I kind of like this. The characters are cool and whatnot. I didn't really get into it until I want to say like hardcore beyond casual. To like a couple years ago, maybe 2, when get older and whatnot, and I was like, I really wanted to like get good enough to like beat you, so I started messing around, actually try to learn characters and whatnot. But that's how I got into it.
I can go next. I got into the series about the same time you did, Brian, but I never put enough time into it to really say I got above casual. Oh, maybe I'd say I was a little above casual, but not very.
That's perfectly fine either way.
Yeah, I never got to a very high play level with it. Reference mine was Exarch, the first one. I got Strive not Strive. I got Rev 2 and Revelator when those came out. And that's kind of been just what I did. The only time I touched Jackson Core was like, hey, maybe I can learn some. That way I can play with you guys sometime. That's really about it. Not a whole lot because it's going to be a recurring thing around here.
That does remind me, I do want to mention.
But that's fine. That'll bring in an outside perspective, though, to like kind of,
a more casual
the
player.
total like consensus.
You do also remind me, I forgot to mention that I mostly played Exod, and I started with Exod. I did play the tiniest amount of X2 with Jody, and I do play occasionally some Axing Cole, mostly because Robo Kaizen though, and I kind of enjoy playing him. But how about what did, if I can quickly, George, you started along the same time as me?
Yeah, same as you. I remember playing Blaze Blue first, then I played a bit of Exert, and I remember trying X2 at your place. Like, this was back in, like, early 2016. And I wanted to play a Guilty Gear game, but didn't have a PS4 or a PC, and I knew Exert was on PS3, but I kind of wanted to get it on a better console, because that's how my brain works. So I decided, fuck it, I'll get one of the PS2 games, and I got X and Core Plus, played the shit out of that, and it's really fun. And then I got Exert in, like, not long after I got my PS4. And I've played both pretty regularly, and I've Though I've only started to get good at it, like, very recently.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That's all.
I guess to continue this, to get a greater idea of who we are in terms of Guilty Gear scene. Kevin. Well, I have a feeling the answer is going to be about half the cast, but who do you consider mains in?
Well, I can speak for Exerd. Like, my core top 3 mains is Soul, Kai, and Raven.
Mm-hmm.
They just gel well with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also get into Action Core. That's another thing too, and that is as always a top dog himself, Order Soul.
Hey.
And just regular Soul as well, and regular Kai, because they're pretty easily translatable, so I don't really have to worry about that too much. But as for half the cast, yeah, I just like to play a lot of characters. A lot of people point out, like, dude, why do you have so many mains? Like, dude, Guilty Gear is really cool. I really can't have, like, just a couple. And I pick up there's a lot to do in the game, and I want to get my money's worth, and I've been doing this for, like, a solid 5+ years now. So some things get a little stagnant, so I try to mix it up every now and then, and I play the occasional character. Like, pretty much like half the cast, yeah, I pretty much play. I enjoy very much. That's it.
Alright, now, Bob, I mean, you mentioned you play the games a bit more casually, but I do know you have certain characters you like to gravitate towards.
Oh, yeah, I would say I more or less have 3 mains, roughly in descending order of how good I am at them. It's Jacko, Bedman, and Faust. So you can probably guess who I'm playing in Strive.
Yep.
Hey, you're one of 5 Bedman players in the world.
Yes. One of 5 bed people. I trend towards, like, anyone in the cast that's considered a weirdo, but more specifically, I like Strange Zoner. I know I say that while Venom is right there, but, like...
Well, he's not that.
I mean, it's not really usual for zoners to have that kind of projectile manipulation.
Not really. Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but anyway, point is, it's Jacko, Bedman, and Faust. Never got super good at any of them, just because I had a hard time. In general, it was when I was still, like, kind of not great at fighting games overall. I'd say I'm better now than I was then, just understanding stuff, but yeah.
Alright, George, I know you also mentioned you play Bedman from time to time. I know you'll play a couple other characters.
Sometimes. I'm kind of the opposite of Rob. I tend to like characters that are good at getting in your face. Like, with Accent Core, I play Order Soul, Cliff, Anji, Baiken, and, though more recently, Testament.
Alright, and I do know you also...
wait, what?
I was about to mention, I know it's a little bit different Exode with you, because half the characters you play aren't in Exode.
Yeah. If Exode, I mostly just play Soul, because it's fucking Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Though I also like Potemkin, and... Okay, I also kind of... every once in a while, I'll play, like, Batman.
Alright. As for me, I mostly play Kai and Slayle. Main reason why I play, at least in Exode. In Exode, I played mostly Kai and Slayle. Occasionally, I mess with a lot of other characters. I want to learn Johnny. I once in a blue moon maybe do some things with Soul and Raven. Not because I don't like how they'll play, just because I don't practice enough with them.
Raven's cool.
Raven is fun. From what little I've messed around with them, and
the more I mess with him, the more I enjoy him.
Mm-hmm. In Accent Cole, I don't play much Accent Cole, but I mostly play Robokai and Slayo. But yeah, so kind of. I don't know how to describe that. I guess my playstyle can be sometimes a bit all over the place. But yeah, but now that we now know who we all play, I'm gonna start with Kevin, and anyone else can jump in with this. How about that Gatling?
The Gatlings, yeah.
I'll-
Great. They feel great in Strive.
I'll have more to say on this when we get to the combo routing stuff, because it kind of ties into that.
Oh, we could.
But yeah,
We could fold those two topics into one right now. We want to.
Alright, so my perspective on it's kind of limited, but I feel so I probably will be able to get through it quickly. Whenever
we'll go with you.
Yeah, whenever I'm getting into a fighting game, I of course start at the place everyone does, just hitting buttons and seeing what works. And just kind of like, fumbling around until I can grab onto something more solid. That
Yeah, the
became a
natural way.
lot harder in Strive because, who wants to explain this better than I can?
Let's
How
see.
about-
Yeah,
I can explain this. So, for those who don't know, in every Guilty Gear game pre-Strive, you could easily combo punch into kick, into slash, into heavy slash.
For
That's a
most
very
characters.
basic, easy combo you can do. Yeah, for most characters. Some are more limited than others. But I think Exerd did make Gatlings a little more free than Accent Core. At least I felt they did.
Mm-hmm.
Strive went for the opposite change, where you can't combo punch and kick into anything, and you can only do slash into heavy slash, and even that's awkward to do with some characters.
Well, I mean, for me, it just kind of throws things out of whack, and the way that they went about it, it just kind of doesn't make sense compared to the priorities that they really need to worry about in the game.
So,
on top of that, yeah.
with that explained, you can see now that my fumbling phase really got gunked up because I can't do the usual thing, and now have to figure out this almost from the ground up, this half system where it's slash, heavy slash, and then figure out which of these other specials I would have to use. And it kind of is I didn't really learn any combos. I just had to rely on fundamentals and buttons, which is sounds like a fine thing, but doesn't sound like a Guilty Gear thing per se.
No.
And and keep in mind, as Guilty Gear as a fighting game is a pretty okay fighting. There's the obvious thing, even as a fighting game, it still falls short of. I still think the wall break mechanic is easily the most the weirdest. They're not even sure. It feels like they're not even sure what exactly it's supposed to do. But we'll get into that portion later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
But yeah, basically you said how I feel about the combos and Galleons. From what I remember messing around in Strive myself. I didn't really mess around too much in training mode. I know you did a lot, Kevin.
I do that that's probably half of my playtime, or at least 60%.
As did I.
For me, I remember messing around just doing natural battles and whatnot, and the way you combos feel like they're supposed to be structured in Strive, it's you gotta do slash, heavy slash, and then a special. If you want a combo from a kick, you have to do a special, and most likely a Roman cancel, which Strive seems to be very more heavily focused on, compared to Exode, and especially compared to Accent Cole. Well, in Strive, it feels like a lot of the combos which could have been done without the Roman cancels require them. Without Roman cancels in Exode, require them in Strive. And
it just seems so bare.
It
compared to other areas in the series.
The thing is
Also, everyone has fewer moves than before, and some of them you really notice are gone.
I mean,
Yeah.
Soul doesn't have Riot Stamp, and it didn't even get a replacement like Reed Several got with a Feud the Arc.
Well,
And
they
I
replaced it with Bandit Bringer.
Like, there was nothing wrong with holding kick to do Bandit
Yeah,
Bringer,
they
though.
separated the inputs in that way. I mean, you could technically see Bandit Bringer being the Fuja arc, because even that works differently than the other one. In principle, it's somewhat still the same, but in like arc, in speed, it functions very differently. And because of the way the game was built up, I mean, it further separates this Bandit Bringer from the old one.
Mhm.
Just because that, and on top of that, the properties it had when it comes to hitting opponent, it causes a ground bounce. But this one, Bandit Bringer is just a combo ender.
Mhm.
Unless you do like a Roman cancel, but you know, if you don't really like relying too much on meter, you're gonna just be stuck doing just like at maximum 5-hit combo.
So, in general, like what this is, a lot of what's going on in Strive is it really likes throwing you back into neutral with short combos and like a lot of things that end combos. And it's like, it's one of those things that's like, why? Because Guilty Gear.
Yep.
And again, if it was a different fighting game, and like a new fighting game, new IP, the arc would have done.
This
Like, it
would
would
have
have
been
been
fine.
okay. It would have been alright.
Yeah.
If they were doing that just to experiment. But the thing is, like, you can't just put the Guilty Gear title on there and expect like this to be very a lot of these changes to be very welcome. I mean, you can't look at like Halo and then like like when 343 took over, they did a lot of very questionable things. That's like saying it's like, what do you like in the criticism they have with the writing and the gameplay? It like you can't. It's like there is obvious criticism that you can have there. I'm sorry, you have to cut this out. I don't know. I kind of went over a tangent.
That's fine. It's related. It's the fact that with Strive, it's like they made this new game. It's like, let's call it a Guilty Gear game, when it's not like, let's make a Guilty Gear game. And then, like, a lot of it does not feel like a Guilty Gear. Like, thinking about how Strive plays, what's a very true focus game, versus Exa, which has a lot more of a Okizeme, and for those who do not know what that term means, that means basically one's plan when your opponent is knocked down. For example, with Raven, he can toss out like a fireball that stays in place, so when your opponent gets up, they have to block. Or in the case of Kai, if he has a grinder set up and he does like a charged stun edge and leaves a projectile above your opponent, so they have to block when they get up.
Or in Soul's case, Gunflame Go Burr.
Yeah, Gunflame Go Burr. So you don't really have a lot of these options anymore. You do have a couple with them, but they tend to be only on certain characters.
Yeah, well,
like
they
May.
They make it exclusive to characters like May and Melia.
Like, not inherently exclusive, but they're the only ones with good tools to do that.
Like, really good, yeah.
Especially, and the fact that they're the only characters that can do it is kind of sad when they lost a lot of shit.
And a little, I wouldn't go as far as say unfair, but if you're gonna try to make a game for everyone, I think you should give the tools that everyone else has, at least the base tools, like set play stuff. Any character should be able to have one version of set play, but so far, the Oki in the game, it's very, very hard to call it that if you're not playing May or Melia or I guess, the few other characters I guess that also have it, but so far just May and Melia is the ones that stand out the most.
I feel like the only other character that's gonna have Eddie Oki when the game comes out, at least in the base roster, is Anji with his butterflies.
That or probably with her
Well,
her projectile.
that's
Yeah.
assuming that Anji still has some of his stuff. 'cause-
Well,
He has
in
the
the trailer we
butterfly.
did see that he had the butterfly Oki.
Mhm.
To be fair, from what I remember of Anji, the main thing he had was it called Fujin was the name of the move, and its full follow-ups,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the butterfly. I think he had a couple other specials, but those are the main tools he needed. That makes Anji Anji.
Yeah, those are like the reason you play Anji.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I play him. I feel like with Anji, they're gonna he's only gonna have 2 Fujin follow-ups.
Possibly.
But that's a lot of speculation at the moment.
Yes.
At the moment, but I do feel like Anji. I mean, I'm trying.
I mean, they took away Chip's teleports.
They did take away Chip's teleports. Which is a bit of a weird move, just leave him with his blades, basically.
When that was what made him stand out.
And it really did help him with the fact that he has such a low amount of health.
And now he has a special that can get him killed in 1 hit.
Oh yeah, Gamma
Yeah.
Blade, literal one-hit KOs, counters.
If Brian edits this, he should be able to upload some of the clips I have of me doing a TOD, like several different TODs
Just show
on a
some
chip alone.
speedruns.
Yeah, I definitely at least put these right here. But like the fact that I'm not sure it's gonna be in the video, so I'll say this. I know Ramathal also has one where she just does one of her supers.
And it's so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah, that's something like putting the Pablo stuff aside is really weird. It's that this damage is fucked.
I
And
mean,
also the health is fucked.
oh, the damage is. I mean, everyone's I find that who has the literal one hits to be kind of funny when you have before this all the memes of like Potemkin just killing Chip, and then you have fucking Naruki and Ramathal having literally one hit supers if Chip does Gamma Blade and gets countered.
And on top of that, the one for because the character I spent a lot of time in the beta just because he was the most interesting, and I think he was the one who felt probably the best overall because it was something new and there was nothing that it did to take it away from the character because it's a new character. But even in what could be considered the worst state, the Blood Rage, which you don't have access to specials, and you have to spend like only 50 meter for it to work. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's talking about Nago as of late.
Yeah.
Nago has stupid strong stuff. Like, I think I'm trying to remember because there was a video going around also of like him doing this 3 hits and like and then killing. I think it was a Chip or maybe even someone else, but it was probably a Chip.
Sorry, I'm doing something in the background.
That's alright. Well, with how crazy Strive is, no, it could be a soul, whatever. But the damage.
Oh, yeah, another TOD I did. All I did was like a Gamma Blade counter with just a heavy slash, and then heavy mob cemetery, and then that was enough to kill him.
Yeah, I remember you showing us that one.
I think maybe we should hurry over to the air game stuff.
Or lack
wrap back
thereof.
in just to have our basic covered.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Because Guilty Gear has always been a fairly, like, it has always had a strong air game.
I always thought it was pretty even to the ground portion.
yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of a half and
But
half
there's-
split.
Yeah, there's a lot
Like
of
I think if anyone wanted, the air, like the classic air game, I guess from like MVC, I think people will find themselves a very good time playing Guilty Gear, the Guilty Gear game, because of the options you can do in the air, just how fun and free they are. But Strive, due to the limited Gatlings and just to focus onto the ground. Air combos are just kind of barely there. They're
Like-
there, but they're just barely there. But on top of that,
They're
because
very
I think-
minimal.
Yeah. But another thing that kind of pissed me off was just like character exclusivity, and that is, everyone likes to talk about how Melee has air combos, and that's fantastic. That is fantastic. But the thing is, right? But who else gets it, though? Who else gets that level of air game?
I distinctly.
And why is it just Melee? Is that?
Like,
And why is it just I don't think I would want to call there's character specific stuff that it makes a character unique. I just think it's a little ridiculous to have Amelia's special thing in her kit other than the ability to do Oki, but also is to do the extensive air combos like you could in older games. Why? That's not a character specific feature. That's a game specific feature. Why? I think. Fine. No, not too much air game, but
yeah.
I just find it just a little weird. Like just her though. Like I love Mila.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Mila. But it's a little unfair.
Yeah.
So with all this, talk the short air games, I think we can segue into the wall and what that does.
Actually, I do want to say with the short L games though is that, I mean, I remember in Exo the different things you could do to get into an L game with killers like Soul, which is Wild Throw, where you can do a crouch and heavy slash.
Oh yeah.
Kai,
Or you could do counter hit forward heavy slash into Bandit Bringer and Fafnir and just go nuts from there.
Or
Right
you
stamp.
have 50 meter with literally any character. As long if you have 50 meter, you can convert into an air combo whenever you want.
Yeah.
But it's really, really difficult to do that because on top of that, there is a certain tool that if you're a beginner, I think should be a pretty crucial tool to set up your air combo with a 2HS, the down heavy slash. But they don't really they lock the ability to jump cancel out of that anymore. So pretty much. I know you can jump cancel out of most 5Ks, but it's a little just it's very restrictive. That's a word you'll hear probably a lot today. It's just restrictive.
And the thing, the thing is with that is that you can have more ground focused games which aren't restrictive. Look at Under Night.
Under Night.
Yeah, Under Night is a good case of that.
There's a bit of air shit you can do in Under Night, but it is mostly grounded. That's still fun. The
I think it's
combos are still
satisfying doing some of the stuff. I mean, some my high DMVs, I go into the air quite a bit, and it has just enough meat on the bones for me to feel satisfied about it.
A lot of my Akatsuki shit does that too.
I do know a good number of stuff I do with Enkidu about that, but I'm also grounded, and the fact that the thing that allows that to happen is the fact that Guilty Gear has multiple jumps, Under Night doesn't, but you can jump cancel out of a lot of moves that launch.
I can't exactly relate to this because I play the character that flies.
Yeah. I don't know. That does have some variability. I fucking can't words right now.
Variety.
Variability or variety?
Variety.
Okay.
I don't know why I stumbled over that word of all things.
It's fine. It's fine.
But and the worst part is that you even just looking into classic Guilty, not even classic, just previous Guilty Gear with the dust, with the fact that it's a wall breaking. You get 3 hits in the L in Strive. Versus...
You get it basically dust is basically just added in the old air combos, but it's exclusive to the dust, and the rules between what you can combo into are still kind of weird because dust in the old game you can pretty much do any combination you want for the first 3 to 4 hits or so. You can go in from dust and heavy slash into kick if you want to. It was really, really extensive, but in this one, they toned that down by a whole lot. So you'll find this, certain air combos basically looking somewhat same to the really basic air combos you have in like Accent Core and Exit.
Bro.
Dust Field is way too limited in Strive to the point that like when I was like playing Strive, I did Dust. I kept thinking, why is this still here?
Because to keep with the spirit of Guilty Gear. That's what they also like to to put in.
I think at this point, it's now that we can transfer into the walls, because they also factor into this whole why is this here, limiting combos, and so on that we've kind of been talking about.
Yeah, the wall. Oh, so.
But on top of that, it just seems the word isn't out of place. It just seems like there's an word, but I'm just gonna say this. It seems like it's confused about its own existence in the game. I 100% believe that Ark put the wall break in purely as just spectacle. So and I don't really see it as anything else. And even more, it's just a hindrance.
Let me explain to people who don't know what the wall break is. So normally in a fighting game, the wall is just there. It's the edge of the screen. You can't go there. And usually that's where, where the wall is and the screen ends is the corner where you do a bunch of really cool combos. There's games that don't have this, like Tekken doesn't have traditional walls and even has a stage with 0 walls and goes out to infinity. But normally it's just like either there is a wall or there isn't. With Guilty Gear, they added something that I guess it also is something from Tekken. If you're corner comboing someone enough, the wall breaks, you transition to a different part of the stage, and you're set back to neutral. I say it's kind of like Tekken, but even with the floor breaks or wall breaks in Tekken, those lead into more combo.
That, and you can use the stage transition as part of the combo.
Yeah, with Guilty Gear, it's just to reset back to neutral, which is something these short combos on the ground and air do. And it's all kind of weird that the game is very insistent on throwing you back to neutral as much as possible. I mean, the idea behind it is easy to trace. They want
I get it.
Yeah, they want the players to play more, because neutral's when you get the chance to play, and before you could just become carried into a long-ass combo or something. But here's the other thing though, and this ties into the funky-ass damage.
And you'll see a lot of hypocrisy with that too. I'm sorry, I'll let you continue. I'll finish that later.
So even though there's all this opportunity to do things, matches are still really short, and you could wind up not doing much because, say you're, I should be more polite about this, but I'm not going to be. Say you're dumb enough to play Chip in this game. Against most.
I mean, at this point, he's like a death mag.
He's
what it is.
gonna get okay. Even if you're playing someone like Faust, he will be killed in 3 wild throws from Soul. Now, Chip is like that, but worse, and with everyone.
Don't even start with Potemkin's moves.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason I've been throwing around the term Chip speedrun, because he's so frail that if you see one, it only turns into a time challenge to see how quickly you can kill him. Because he's so low health, and in turn, it just with this whole low health thing, it means the match ends quickly. So the idea is you play more because the combos are shorter, and you're in neutral more. But that kind of is canceled out with the high damage, which means the matches also end quicker. So in the end, all of these things to give the player more opportunity to do more leave you with a lot less to do because
the matches end 30 seconds to a minute.
The matches are super short because of how high damage everything is.
And
fucking Cross-Tag has better damage scaling or better damage overall, and that's still bad.
And the other thing was, hold on, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say about this. My bad.
As you figure that out, I'm gonna.
Oh yeah. Also, it's this other thing that I didn't mention about this. These stages feel a lot more cramped than they usually are.
They definitely do. They're definitely
Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to walk far to only bump up against the wall.
No.
My guess is it's another decision to try to encourage wall breaks, therefore encouraging.
Yeah, it kind of makes things really awkward to move in for certain characters.
And the funny thing about that, I'm gonna say funny, is the fact that I'm not sure about the missing link, but for a long time, definitely since 2X, Byte X, and maybe even missing link, you do have a tool to help you get out of the combo and to get out of long combos so you can play more.
It's still in Strive.
It's still in Strive.
I kept forgetting. I didn't use burst once in Strive with how short combos were.
Real quick, there's a mechanic called burst, where if you're in the middle of the combo, you hit
Or block stun.
hit all of your buttons, basically.
You hit dust.
And a button.
Yeah,
Dust and a button.
you do that, and then you knock the opponent away, and you're out of the combo. Hooray! Now,
You
we
can
still
only
have
use
that
it
in
so
Strive.
much, though.
Yeah, we still have that in Strive, despite everything we've been saying that would make you wonder why.
Yeah.
So it's just like all of these. It kind of comes back to all of these things undermining themselves and winding up kind of doing the opposite of what they wanted to do and restricting the game because
None of these design choices really work with each other.
They're very much in conflict with each other.
No, I'd say they work well together. They just work well into making things not as good.
Yeah.
So,
Shrinks
all right,
Sabotage.
backhanded compliment.
Yeah, it just shrinks everything.
Yeah. Like,
I think that was kind of why, like, when Brian and I were playing against each other online, the only time we had any fun was when we were both playing Potemkin.
alright, because Potemkin.
One, he actually kept most of his specials, namely his most important ones, those being Hammerfall, Heat Knuckle, and Potbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, playing neutral was actually fun, but also because of all the mind game shit we did with Hammerfall.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Potemkin actually has the more reasonable health
Yeah, he
compared
has
with
enough
fighting
health
each other.
to survive himself.
That's the thing. So the matches were a good length. I think even one match we almost got down to like 14 seconds, and that's the closest we've ever gotten timing out.
So, with all of this weirdness going on, there's one question that's like hanging around. Why? And I can get the why.
Yeah, we can all surmise. We do have the evidence via the developer's backyard. I wish they still kept some of them because I tried looking for them. They're gone now. But
Wait, they're gone? I just checked a couple of days ago.
did you? For me, it just brought me to just the link. If you can quickly find them again, that'd be great. So I can look over them whenever that happens.
Right. But before we get that one, or the backyard evidence, the thing I want to mention is that I believe what's going on is that, well, the main thing that all of this brings to mind is that it makes it a lot easier for casual players or new people to get in because combos are short, so you don't have to learn long combos, and like everything's really simple. Now the question is, again, why? Because they want to make more money. It's really simple. They want to be able to become a bigger name than it originally was, and to do that, they want to like make it easier to jump in. And like, okay, I have a comparison to make that's going to take a little bit of explaining to do. If y'all don't mind me going. Okay, so something kind of similar to this happened many years ago with a different company in a different game series. This was Capcom thinking about Devil May Cry. Now, Devil May Cry
Oh boy.
is a somewhat niche and/or obscure action game that you only know about if you're kind of deep into video games already. And with all of this, they were wondering what they needed to do to make Devil May Cry sell the Call of Duty buck. And so to like do this ridiculous thing they wanted, they handed off the game to
Ninja Theory.
Yeah, that was
who made DMC the DMC. That's basically its name. And it was not good. I'm not going to get into explaining why, because that would be its own thing that we're going to do for a video when we play through it.
Just know that, like,
but the point is,
the general consensus is that everyone is like, this is awful.
It's dark.
Really bad.
In the end, it didn't work. And eventually, but like, the same kind of methodology is here. We want game to sell like other games, despite everything about game identity working against selling like other games. And in this instance with Strive, it's Arxis wanting Guilty Gear to sell like Street Fighter. And again, you only know about Guilty Gear if you get decently into fighting games specifically in order to find Arc and then find Guilty Gear.
Like, I've always said that, at least for now, Guilty Gear is just kind of stuck in a niche hell.
Yeah, like
pretty much.
Let's put this.
I mean,
you're already swearing the amount of obscurity it is by the fact that you already have to be in fighting games specifically. And then there's just everything else I mentioned about it being from someone people don't immediately know and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Arc wanting to sell like Street Fighter is never going to happen because the hurdles they'd have to overcome are impossibly high at this point. You're
and
not
then
gonna be
even
able to,
oh sorry.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to compete with Street Fighter at this point because everyone knows who Street Fighter is. Everyone who doesn't play video games knows what Street Fighter is. They'll look at Ryu and go, yeah, that's the Street Fighter man. You know? They look at Soul and then they're going to ask you what anime of the season this is.
They might even ask you, is that Terry?
Oh.
the amount, you know, people would know who Terry is before they know Soul. At this point.
Especially
thing too,
Mexicans.
It's not just the hurdles of going to Street Fighter. It also has to get past like Tekken. It has to get past like King of Fighters.
It has to
or
get
Soul
past
Calibur.
Combat.
It has to go past those games as well before it starts. If they want to get big up to there. Point is, and I'll let you elaborate more, but pretty much fighting games is kind of past prime.
Like,
well, first
dude,
off,
we heard of Guilty Gear because we played Blaze Blue.
Yeah.
Which is also pretty niche.
And also hasn't had a game in a while.
Dare I say Blaze Blue will be a bit more niche because, I mean, at least with Guilty Gear, there's like an occasional anime or one particular movie that references it. And if you know that,
my dad, whose only experience with fighting games was playing Tekken 3 20 years ago, had heard of Guilty Gear.
So yeah.
So
before you heard of Blaze Blue,
it's fighting an impossible battle. That's what they're doing, and it's more or less hurting the game and the gameplay for it. Because here's the other thing. With all this being said, here's the main difference between DMC to DMC and Strive. The DMC was selling itself as like, oh man, it's a DMC game made by these Westerners, and it's going to be all cool and whatever, and it turned out to be shit and lame. Like, that's the main thing about it. It did not live up to those expectations. With Strive, however, Arc has been kind of pushing this in a very specific way from what I notice. And that it's always been in that, like, whenever I see people talk about it, or like, as I understand its marketing has gone, it's always been about how it looks and how it plays online. And the thing is, both of those things are rock solid. This is the best looking game Arc has ever made because they've built up their, like, this 3D animation technique over, like, how many years?
About 7 now?
But either way, like, and I'll say this without a shadow of a doubt, they're the kings of making a 3D fighting game. Like, none of like of the 3D fighting games I played don't look nearly as good. They just look like unpolished compared to the way that Ark always does it.
And on part 2, this is also the way it plays online is perfect. It has immaculate rollback netcode. It plays wonderfully.
Yeah, it got what it needed.
Which for most fighting games is not a thing.
The only ones with good
Japan
netcode
is very, very very
stubborn.
deterred. No,
Here's the thing: when we say fighting games, it's anything made by the Japanese. It's the Japanese fighting game.
Yeah,
because they don't want to put in rollback.
Skullgirls is still Skullgirls in what
Mortal Kombat.
Well, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
And also,
as much as I do say Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct, that's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah. So, like, these games made by Western developers have rollback.
Yeah.
Because the people who make that decision, they get it because they live in America or Europe or whatever.
America is pretty much made up of, like, 10 times the size of Japan. Which is the reason why they don't care about, why Japan doesn't really care too much about rollback, is because, like, anyone from Hokkaido to Osaka, that's pretty much just the length of, God, I want to say
you could probably
to San Antonio.
Yeah, especially
compared to Texas.
Like, the furthest connection that's going to happen, and I don't even know if people live up there, it's like, if you go from the north end all the way down south on Japan, that's more or less like, what, New York to Florida at most?
Oh, it's a lot.
I think even
I think
that's
like,
pushing it.
That's a lot far though. From that's more like Maine to New York.
That's more like the north end of. That's more like the north of Texas to the south of Texas.
And that plus the fact
that might be. That might be a bit small, but
I remember that. Like, I was trying to remember. There was like some sort of map comparison where, like, I think Japan is about, like, as long as the west or no, the east coast, like just up and down.
Yeah, I think I'm looking this up right now. I think I get what you mean, but I'm also going to post in the chat for us to view.
The point is, they're really close, meaning that, like, that all their connections don't have as far to travel and won't fuck up as badly.
That plus the fact, from what I understand, they tend to have pretty decent internet infrastructure, which is a lot easier when you have a smaller area to work with compared to
more homogenized kind of people to work on it.
Well, that doesn't really affect it too much. I would imagine. I'm no engineer, but I do understand the concept. But it takes no engineer to understand the concept of smaller country means less resources to buff up infrastructure.
The point is, before we go too far off all of this, Japan has always had awful netcode in their games because it never affected them.
Right.
Drive, for once, is a game from Japan. Tekken's kind of getting this finally. That, like, plays well for us.
But even then, Arxis only did that when fans cried about it.
Yeah.
Like
and also
when
like
the game was before the game was delayed, they had like late 2019 or late 2019 or late 2020. I mean, I'm sorry. They were going to release it with the delay-based netcode originally, but when it was delayed, luckily enough, when it was delayed with more time, that was around the time that they decided to settle on rollback netcode. But even then, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, they Ark really didn't care about adding rollback until like people overseas whined about it. But on top of that, I find it just a little hypocritical because they wanted to make the game to cater toward overseas audiences,
and they don't put in rollback until people complain.
They wouldn't have even considered, without the outcry of many people and many influencers. I hate that word, but
and also juniors within the company, because obviously this whole issue is because the old people at the top don't want it in, while the younger while the juniors in the company that know their shit are like pulling their hair out because they won't do it.
Now, while it is nice that Strive has rollback, can we talk about the fucking god-awful lobby system?
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
it's time for the lobby system.
Here's something that's impressive. Somehow it becomes even dumber with each one of these they do.
The thing that
Like-
gets me the most about the lobby system, which I think is the dumbest decision ever, is that the idea is that you have your avatar, he pulls out his weapon, right? And like, oh, I can fight that person. But the thing is that the lobby effectively has invisible, like, slots where you go to when you want to challenge your opponent.
Yeah, so you can't, like, start a fight anywhere, and if you try to start a fight where, like, that's not a designated spot, you get teleported to somewhere else in the lobby.
Now, from my experience, I just like set my stuff up, sat back, sat in training room, waiting for someone else to come. And a few, enough people came for me to be able to get my playtime. But it's like, that's my experience on it. And I also wanted to just bring up that Dragon Ball Fighters is a fucking circus with how much clown shit's going on in that lobby system.
I haven't actually messed around with Dragon Ball FighterZ lobby. It's been a while since I played Fighters. I've been meaning to get back into it.
I remember Fire's lobby not being great.
Because, like, the weird thing is that when it comes to the online stuff, Arctis suddenly becomes allergic to menus.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie,
Like,
You could just
like,
have
I don't
regular
even-
ranked
like,
online in a
yeah.
menu.
I don't even
And that's it.
dislike Exerd's lobby system. Like, that was a good lobby system, but it's thanks to Fighters and now Strive that I'd rather just have a menu.
I didn't.
And the problem overall. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to say I didn't necessarily mind Fighters now that I remember more of it. That one's perfectly fine in my opinion. It's what Strive was trying to go through, but Fighters didn't have invisible cabinets, basically. Invisible battle stations. So, it's like, I want to set like a battle thing, whatever, right here.
Ring. Basically, you start a ring match. Basically.
Yeah, a ring.
And if you want to like,
Boom.
climb the ladder or whatever, you gotta walk all the way over to the back and crowd around the one guy.
That was a bit weird, I'm not gonna lie.
Right, and the problem overall, like this, like for basically Strive's problem is they're trying so hard to reinvent the wheel when there is like actual issues with the reason that the games aren't doing so well. They're just it's almost like they're trying to understand why the game is wrong and not looking at the obvious pictures, because like it's either they don't want to admit that that's the reason Guilty Gear isn't doing well, or something like that. Like, you guys know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Or they just literally do not see it.
It's entirely possible. Many game developers I've known, game developers that I've fallen in love with and fell out of love with. Yeah, like Bethesda, they've done the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've been feeling about Square Enix for 10 years now.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit of a tangent.
I'm just saying, I get where Kevin's coming from.
The point is that, like...
Yeah, I'm well aware that you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The point is, while, like, some of this floor chicanery can be kind of funny or whatever, it's really just a lot of unnecessary bullshit when they're trying to make this easier.
I remember when Brian, Kevin, and I were trying to like have matches with each other online. We had to fight the lobbies.
It was so frustrating.
I remember Brian kept phasing through some random player.
Yeah.
At one point,
it was. I never in my life had to fight. I guess the online system so much to play an online game with my friends.
delay-based netcode sucks, but at least in Exerd, Blaze Blue, and Undernight,
you can just get into
fight
matches
the
like
lobby.
That. You can just get in and out like that.
Here's the other weird thing. I think there is an option or somewhere to just like, for from the main menu to like hop into queuing for a match already?
Yeah,
Which is
like a quick match with almost anyone. But for the case of trying to fight with
no,
your friends, which
here's the question: if you have that button, why even bother with the lobby? Like,
well, no,
just-
but because the thing is, right? They're prioritizing this lobby, like, for God knows why. I mean, I can probably guess as to why. Like, I think as a novelty, like, sure, like it looks cute, it looks fun, like it looks it looks like there's something there. But again, when it comes to a fighting game, that's not something you prioritize.
No.
Just cut straight to the chase. I think the way that you're going to spend the time is in matches.
Yeah.
But if you have to extend that time by having us go to like the most convoluted lobby I've ever seen, it's like, dude, we just want to get in and out, and especially during a beta where there's not so much time left to do, like. It's just annoying. Like I didn't touch the online at all, really, just because I didn't like dealing with it.
I didn't mess with it much.
I didn't really mess with it besides playing you guys' match, but it's something you brought up.
just to play.
Like, and combined with, again,
I even
how
forgot
short
how
the
it
matches themselves are, you don't really get much game with this lobby system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, I forgot how this worked. Like I know what you're about to say, Rob, and I want you to say it. But like I even checked back to the fucking tutorial for the lobby system, and even then I still forgot. Like, how the fuck do I do this shit? Oh, okay, there we go. Fuck, man, that's annoying.
Wait, what was I gonna say?
Did you?
Oh,
Did you
I remember you saying, it's like, well, that's the problem. You read there a tutorial for the lobby.
No, yeah, I was
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I forgot to mention it. Yeah, there's a fucking tutorial for this lobby system. Why?
That should not.
It doesn't
What
need to
small
be there.
dev team did you cobble together to make a lobby system minigame?
Oh my god.
This
Also,
fucking-
that reminds me. Question, Kevin, Rob. Did either of you accidentally view another player's art
Yeah,
code?
I was gonna get
Oh
into that.
my
and,
God.
What?
Like, using the art code. No, if you haven't done this, Rob, and that is if you want to, because like, if you're like us and you just started playing the lobby, you wanted to just get into another match, after you lost or won one, and you wanted to go back to the person, and you'll just naturally kind of just spam the accept button. But the thing is, that doesn't pop out like all the way because like the queue time to start another match takes so fucking long that you'll accidentally end up trying to look at their R code, and that takes fucking years to get through. Like, I did that once, and I was just like, oh no, because it tries to find this stuff, and it takes so long trying to get the information. Like, no, and you can't even back out. You just have to sit there and just accept that
Yeah,
you're
you just have to
about
sit
to waste
there.
2 minutes of your life.
Huh, because
It's just
again,
like-
this goes back to that I just sat on my butt and let people come to me.
And that, that's a smart play. But whenever I was trying to like fight against Brian and George, like, I'll accidentally hit that. I'm like, fuck, no, dude, why?
Oh.
So for all the things you try and do to casualize this game, there's people are trying to figure out the high level tech to work the goddamn lobby so it isn't shit.
And what hurts the most is that Ark had a chance. They had like 6+ months to change
Because
this lobby system.
No one liked
compared-
this.
Yeah, compared to
No
the
one
first
liked
beta,
it.
nobody liked it.
That
And like everyone was hearing that this is awful, but they pretty much was just like, no guys, you don't like, you'll see what this is like. We're gonna keep it. And then the
We saw
next
what it
beta,
was like,
it was
and it was
still
shit.
a fucking mess, and everyone was like, this is terrible, this is awful. Like, why is it there? Like, and the thing is, I don't really think it's gonna get fixed, because apparently, like, from during the first beta and now, they weren't itching to change it at all, or make it any better.
first they barely
I think
changed
they
the damage.
put too much work into this lobby system to want to
Exactly,
change
the
it.
priority. They're
the-
prioritizing. Like, dude, work on the actual gameplay part, not the lobby. It doesn't have to be that way. The fucking fighting.
And what was wrong with Exer's lobbies? Those were perfectly fine.
Again, they're just trying to reinvent the wheel to get like a spark of like, I don't know, like entertainment from this new factor of like lobby system. Like, dude, like, I get it if you want to make a lobby, like more interesting. I think there's better ways to do it, but on top of that, you gotta prioritize other things first, dude. And you cannot make it this much of an involved process.
Artists was having this weird fixation on lobbies, since Guilty Gear.
Yeah, I would say ever since wasn't the lobby system been kicking around since like Blaze Blue Oval, and
I know Central Fiction had that. Similar.
But like that was fine. But what helped though is that even if it was like an open lobby stuff, and the thing is with fighters and stuff, like that is a bad thing. Well, but I'm okay with it because I've probably spent enough time with it, and even then I don't really spend too much time with the online because delay-based netcode.
Also, the important thing for us in that lobby system is that we can find each other and we can do our private matches in peace.
Mm-hmm.
But what helps, at least for the older Arc System Work titles, what really helped is that I guess it could be as like scatterbrained as possible, but as long as we have like two like sections or like what are virtual arcade cabinets where one person just sits on one, the other person sits on another, and it's only just those two people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple, and it doesn't need to be expanded beyond that. That is it. That should be the maximum. Like, that should be the maximum when it comes to how you initiate a fucking match.
Like, that's
this fucking readying yourself and then like teleporting like far away from the like your other friends or something, and then like having to deal with like possibly hitting another character who also has you also teleport in like inside another character as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mess. It's a mess. That's all. I don't know how else to talk about it. It's a mess. It's just a mess.
So yeah, the lobby system is it's a bunch of horse shit.
I
It's
wouldn't
just weird.
hate
On
this
top of all the
nearly
other
as
weird
much
decisions. Oh,
if you had like the ability to make your own private room.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Then I could deal with it.
Like, it's out of that old go for like, if they didn't want to do arcade machines, you could just put tables around or whatever. Just like something like that just indicates, oh, this is the place where we go if we want to do a match.
Like clear sections.
I think
very
I can
clear
actually-
sections.
I think I can summarize this the best of what's wrong with this game. We're going to be spending more time trying to find each other in the lobby than actually fighting, and by a large margin.
Like, fuck. It's not even like in some fighting games where it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to do a match, I'm gonna have to wait around till my opponent fights me. It's no, I'm going all over this fucking lobby because I want to fucking do a match, but I fucking pull out my sword and I somehow accidentally instant transmission myself across the fucking room.
It's like I really don't know what they
Dude,
were
I remember
doing.
several times when we were trying to play, and alright, I'm gonna pull out the sword. Wait, where the fuck did I go?
Think about it. Yeah, the fact that the matches are so quick, or like the fact that getting matches takes so long exacerbates the annoyance that the matches themselves are so short.
Oh yeah.
Because then you'll be kicked back to the lobby or some shit and have to like finagle this horse shit again before you get another chance.
Like, God. Like, I can only imagine that if this game were released earlier with the delay-based netcode, like having this lobby on top of the delay, this game would be dead. I mean, if they still want to keep, if they're still going to keep this lobby system, it's gonna hurt them. It's really gonna hurt them. Like, at least it wouldn't be as bad as just delay-based. Like, it's. I seriously am trying to understand. Like, they had the time. It's like they were asking for feedback, and they knew that like at least like 80 to 90% of the player base who played the original beta was just in this one was just like, nah, dude, this isn't it, man. It's like, you don't need to have this stuff. This is not why we come to Guilty. We don't come for the lobby system. The lobby system is purely there to get us to connect to other people. That is it. That should be the only priority, and it should not expand beyond that. That is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fucking mermaid. I know there was
That just...
I want to double check that.
God.
The list of things we want to mention.
I was just looking at that as well.
Let's hit up one of the big old things. How about that Dragon install? Oh, the lack that.
Yeah. So one of my biggest gripes with this so far, like I had, there was basically three strikes that they had to mark for me to at least like deal with the game and enjoy myself, I suppose. One of which was the Gatling, and they gave me like the most annoying thing to work with. I mean, it's not like I can't use it, but like overall, seriously, bring the old Gatlings back. They were fun.
They were fun.
Actually simple and intuitive. And if you want, and if you wanted a simple game, you should be able to keep them. But on top of that, freedom of choice to play a video game is absolutely important. And I think it's absolutely important to a lot of other people. And the fact that you're limiting it because you don't want people starting from punches, going into heavy attacks just in one string, creating like an easy attack for big damage, even though you set the damage to be so ridiculously high anyway. That's a level of hypocrisy that just still kind of irks me.
And that was after the damage change from the closed beta. Because in the closed beta, the damage was even crazier.
Didn't Soul's Wild Throw do even more damage too?
It did. It took exactly 3 on like the average, like let's say medium character. Now it only takes 4. But still, that's
only 4.
Like I can do probably like 10 wild throws and Exurb to win the match, and that's a lot. And trying to get like a command grab, like that's something you have to work up to. You only have to work up to at least 3 to 4. But on top of that, the game is so close together and to bring you back to neutral. You go from one little put to the game, and then you go into the command grab. It's just so simple. But I think the next point, so I don't get on this tangent. The other thing that was a must, at least for me, is that when it comes to Soul, and I think overall Soul, like he still has like some of the specials that are exactly the same, some normals that remain the same, but overall, he pretty much felt just like a brand new character to me, and his normals did not feel good, and I like this may just be my personal preference overall, but I would like Soul to actually use the sword. Like I missed whenever he had really decent pokes and stuff. Like Bar Slash is one of my favorite moves because it works very well as a poke, but it just decided to add a punch to Electric Boogaloo as the slash button.
And I'm especially annoyed by that because I thought his new forward slash looked cool.
I thought that was like supposed to be his slash or his heavy slash. Like I thought that should have been his new heavy slash.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why would make that a random? Why not just make that like just a part of like the neutral,
his moveset?
The neutral
and his
moveset.
Heavy slash feels more like a close slash.
It kind of does, but on top of that, what hurts the most is that the Gatling system already hinders a lot of the size of the combos that I'm looking for. But on top of that, if you try going from close slash into heavy slash, and since the game loves being in neutral, and if I'm gonna be honest, this is my thing. I prefer being in neutral overall. Like I like being in the mid screen because if I can do a combo there, then I can do it anywhere on the screen. It's just just a quality of life thing for me. And if someone who is like, nah, I don't dig this only neutral focused Guilty Gear game, that should say something. But on top of that, when you go from like close slash to a heavy slash, it sends the opponent flying. So like you can't it's really hard
fast
to convert.
Mm-hmm. And like the issue with the
basically mash that shit.
Mm-hmm. The issue with neutral and strive is it's simply not fun. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not great.
I can't exactly pin down why, but I just had more time. Had a had more fun doing neutral in Exiled and Accent Core than in Strive, probably because the fact that it's like
I think it has a lot to do with the Gatlings, honestly.
I was about to say that I think the ability to go from a kick to a punch into something a bit more crazy makes it fun. So like, now that I'm in, I can start doing some things. Well,
but it's the freedom to do it. I think that's the part that I want to hit home most. That I could have done it before. Like, I could do it before. Why can't I do it now? But I mean, I've said before, they wanted to do it as a way to make people only choose between the riskier move being the slash or heavy slash, and get something off of that. But like, if somebody wants to go for, and the thing is, I've tested this many times, and this is general this when it comes to any fighting game. If you start with a light attack and go up from there, I guess most chain fighters go up from there, the scaling takes over from that. So it's not going to be a big damage combo. In the tutorial for Under Night, it explains that very well. It's like, if you want big damage, you don't start at the light. You start at like at least the medium or heavy, and then work your way from there. And it's an indicator. It's like, okay, fighting games have this has a level of risk and a level of reward. So I understand now that if I start with a heavy attack, it's going to be slow, and they might be able to pick me off. But if I commit to it, I could potentially get something good. But the thing is, if I want to start with lights and go up from there, I absolutely should be able to. It's a video game. I'm paying for this, right? Like, I'm paying for this, right? And if I'm not enjoying that aspect of it anymore, and it was there and it was taken out, like, that's, I think, I feel like I'm in, like, I should be able to have some of the criticisms on that.
And the thing is just that the restrictions in Guilty Gear Strive just doesn't make it fun compared to, like, you can say something about, like, I guess, like, in Dark Souls, where it has, like, this really difficulty thing. Not difficulty thing, like, it has a bit of a difficulty to it, as it's famous for. But the reason why that's enjoyable compared to other games with other, I wouldn't say infinite things of difficulty, is that in that one, it makes that difficulty, like, a fun challenge, because you have
it's a selling point, pretty much.
You feel like a badass when you overcome it.
And I think if you make something too easy, people are gonna spend too little time. And I absolutely love the challenge, because I love Guilty Gear, and I love Blaze Blue Midnight, and I don't mind the challenge because that means I'm just gonna spend more time on it. And I think isn't that what Arc would want people to spend, like, almost a lot of time on their games? And if I feel like I've pretty much tapped out on what I could do in day -5, essentially, I'm like, well, all right. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting here that I can't get in Exert or Accent Core.
I mean, that's the reason why people still play Accent Core to this day, is because there was just so much to do in though.
It has so much depth to it,
and one of my favorite people who've done stuff or played in Chapman, he says he's still discovering stuff with acting, like, to this day, like a 10-year-old plus game.
Hasn't he been making videos on that since like
he's still making
X2
videos.
Since like
he's
2006?
Still doing yeah, he's still doing stuff.
Insane.
He's still blowing my mind with the stuff that he's able to do.
I don't think Strive doesn't have nearly that level of depth, though.
I want to elaborate a little bit on the weirdness in neutral. Like, one, getting in itself just feels weird. It's just about everyone. But like, it's all buttons in neutral. Like, 2 of those buttons are only to, like, keep things in neutral. Like, punch is just for anti-air, or just to stuff out something someone else is doing. I don't even know what you do with kick. I never used it.
It depends on the character, but like for Soul, that's another potential good anti-air. But but that brings a point, and stuff I remember seeing mentioned from Coefficient, and that is, I agree with them. I don't like the fact that they basically had to categorize the attack buttons from kick, or punch into kick, and slash and heavy slash. It just divided like one half, it divided half of the buttons, whereas in other games, or in other Guilty Gear games, that's all integral. Like that's all together. That feels separate, and that doesn't feel right. It really feels wrong.
It doesn't quite feel like a 4-button fighter anymore.
No.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to like making combos, and there are people who just want to make combos. I mean, for the longest time, like I only pretty much did combo stuff, and and only until like maybe a year ago or so, I really started to do that. I really started to deep dive into like the mind game aspect, and it's been great. But like, but it pretty much in terms of like combos, it's pretty much on the same level as cross tag. It only has 2 buttons as a form of attack, and like that you start out with, and that didn't feel good to me at all. And this certainly doesn't feel great. I'm not saying that like I can't work with it, but it's just gonna be annoying.
I think the other thing that makes getting in less fun is just the way air dashes feel.
I'm surprised it took us this long to mention it.
Because there's a lot of other things to talk about.
For reference, these guys have been talking about this game for like the past week, and it always hits air dashes at some point, and it usually goes for a while.
Because that's a pretty important factor, and especially an important factor in neutral. And if that doesn't feel good, then God, like that's something that doesn't make it fun.
The 2 main problems with the air dashing and Strive are 1, the startup. They have too much startup, and 2, you don't keep your momentum. You just fall straight down.
Yep. And the fact that slow startup makes jump.
But the backdashes are fine though.
Oh yeah, that's the funny thing.
Yeah, the backdash is fine. Because I think in every other like fighting game with an air dash, Accent Core, Exert, Blaze Blue, Under Night,
Fighters.
Fighters. All of those do air dashing like a little differently from each other.
Yeah, Accent Core. Go ahead.
Accent Core does the fastest. Under Night's Assault has a little startup. But what makes that unique is, 1, you can do it from the ground, leading to more overhead mix-ups, and it gives you a resource. But
there's stuff to make it worth it doing it.
Like, all of those games, the air dash fits the flow of the respective game. Yeah. Strives, I personally feel it doesn't. I don't feel good getting a hit in from an air dash because I don't keep my momentum. It doesn't keep the pace of a match.
I've made the comparison that doing an air dash in Strive is like the same thing as trying. It's as if you're dashing underwater, or like if you've ever had a dream and you just tried to run, and it
feels like the air dashes that certain characters had in Darkstalkers, And here's the thing, I don't mind Darkstalkers having stiffer air dashes, because that's when, air dashing kind of first became a thing.
And with it, it's a more, it's a little slower type of game, too, so, you forgive it just a little.
The thing is, that L dash felt fit in with the game, and that's, the type of L dash that a Darkstalkers fan wants from a Darkstalkers game. The issue with Guilty Gear is that, I think that is the slowest startup I've ever seen in L dash in a fighting game. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain.
Slowest I've seen.
That plus the fact you think about a lot of other common strategies in ARC games, and also Under Night plays similarly enough to how they play. It really doesn't lend itself to trying to do the jump ins and whatnot, because there's so much startup when the entire idea of the jump is it's quick enough so you can try to jump in and try to go for the overhead, and there is enough time to react to it, but it's also enough to gotta make you to basically you have to have not horrendous reaction time to get in there. And there was no issue with blocking highs because your opponent's in the hell and it's in the L, they're gonna hit you with a high, so you need to block high. But the how slow it is and the fact so you can propel an anti-L a lot easier and whatnot. Compared to Exord or any other fighting type, since it's a lot quicker, you could try to do that, but then you go in for the L dash, your opponent goes to the anti-L. you'd be like, you have to be quick enough, or you can just go in though, not do an aerial attack. Your opponent does and you can go for a low when you land and get that mix up that makes the neutral game fun in those games. Is that, and I think that lends itself to the reason why, despite being as neutral focus that Strive is, its neutral game isn't fun. You don't like everything about it is like, let's make this neutral focus, but then they also are like, let's tone down basically the rewards of winning neutral. You know?
Yeah, again, this is why, like, I said, like, we've said, like, none of the design choices really seem to work with what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of clash together.
They work against the intended goal of Strive, but they work
All they
together.
do is, like, make the game smaller.
Yeah.
In every aspect.
Yeah.
Like, every conceivable way, this feels like a smaller game.
Mm-hmm.
With smaller combos. Smaller feeling stages.
The only thing that's bigger was the
Smaller
damage.
Yeah, the
And
bigger
that's the
damage
last thing you
makes
want to
everything
be
quicker.
big.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like, I
the
think-
number if you got a combo.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Rob, I think.
Oh
you kinda,
god, yeah,
like,
that. We guess we can talk about the UI and just like, I do want to get back to the thing I want to say, but I'll let you finish first.
No, Kevin, I think it's time to talk about Dragon Stall.
So now this part, I can admit most of it is fueled by bias, but when it comes to talking about the Gatling, when it comes to a level of freedom that you have, one of the selling points I think for me in Soul is, and you know what, I don't really care if it's the most unoptimal thing of all of the moves in Guilty Gear, and I'll say it's no fucking justice in Stall, so it's better than that, but I digress. It's probably one of my favorite Overdrive because that was my first introduction into an install, and I think it handled it very well. But when it came to Xrd, like, it really blew my mind to see Dragon install for the first time, like the way that it looked and the music that blared behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was the most unforgettable experience I have when playing Xrd, and again, it being an optimal is okay to me. So I'll say this much with the Gatlings. I at least want the freedom to still have it. I'm not looking for, like, basically what amounts to is a GT Goku Super Saiyan 4 Cinematic Super, where the only portion you get to be as Super Saiyan 4 is only in the cinematic portion. You don't actually play as it.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, I absolutely love Dragon Install. I love the design. I love every aspect about it. It gives a new depth to Soul. It just adds to it. It's just great, and I'm personally very sad to see it gone. Like, I'm very upset. Like, that again. My top three things that I just absolutely like had to nail for me for at least to enjoy my time with it. And that is the Gatlings, Soul's normals, but last but certainly not least, and I'd say that's number one, is that what sold me onto Soul, my main, is Dragon Install. And I've been dreading the day that I had a feeling like beforehand, like, I don't think he's gonna have it.
But they were gonna take it away.
Anytime I get about it, or anytime I talk about it or mention it anywhere like online, I'll just say I want Dragon Install. I want Dragon Install. But on top of that, what kind of annoys me very much is that they didn't give him Dragon Install, but in fact they gave it to Kai.
Kai has it.
Kai has it.
But
why?
Lore-wise, I get it, but otherwise, I don't. What?
And the funny thing,
Why just Kai?
My problem with Kai's Dragon Soul is one, like, that should be Soul's thing. At least I think it should be Soul's thing, but also,
I agree.
Kai's Dragon Soul is boring.
it's underwhelming, definitely. And like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
why
mind.
it's like this, but it isn't good that it, or it's not like impressive that it's like this.
Yeah,
Like, it
like
all it really does seems to do is add extra hits to his specials.
Mhm.
Like,
I
when
wouldn't.
I was messing with Kai online, I forgot he had it half the time.
Yeah,
That and because of the high damage and let's get out of the way. I think the gut system is in Guilty Gear, but the damage, it's really hard to tell. And the point you have to be with Kai is basically in the when it's flashing at like below 30%, right?
When you'd be in what would be Hellfire state in Exerd.
At that point in time, like it's only just one combo away from death, like either way, and or one super from death if you can land it.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, as well, that the thing that gets me the most about it is like, so in Exod, right, the only character that had an install was Soul. Makes sense. None of the other characters look like they would have an install. I don't think they ever did, historically speaking, right? But like, Soul loses his install, Kai gains his, but then you look in the previous game before Exod, at least 3 fucking characters had installs. Bobo Kai, Soul, you mentioned Justice earlier.
Yeah, even if it was bad, she still had it.
Yeah, no, so these, you can have a fighting game that has these multiple installs. I mean, I know I'm making this a weird like thing to get on soapbox over.
Oh, it's fine, man.
But it just throws me off so much. It's like, so Strife has one install, one fucking install, and the person who has it isn't the person who gave that type of move its name.
Yeah,
like that was like the one that like for the entire fighting game genre, one of, at least in my opinion, many, but one of the more major contributions to the entire genre that Guilty Gear has done, and that's the install supers.
Yeah.
And Soul doesn't have it anymore. Something that is not only iconic to Soul within Guilty Gear, but iconic to Soul to like Guilty Gear as a genre. That this character has this install super. And
for me, it just what is it basically. For me, it really helps Soul stand out from like the rest. But now with it just being like just some other super, you're just kind of average.
Yeah,
you're just
and he doesn't even have like Sidewinder loops.
Yeah.
And the Dragon install that's still there isn't
like.
That
did he
impressive.
get any new moves at all? I'm trying to remember. They only just took out moves and replaced it with a slightly different variation of the moves that he's already had.
They replaced Ground Viper with
there's Narrate
Vortex.
Vortex, but that in a sense that pretty much just acted like acting for Brown Viper, basically.
The only one that's like I can think on Soul that I haven't been for is obviously the command grab that has some Dragon install.
Yeah, but that's a super, and it replaced for me a very crucial part of Soul.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And
I think at this point,
and the thing is, oh yeah,
I was gonna say like I think we could move on to the UI stuff if you
the thing is,
think you're
also,
done.
I'd like to add one last thing.
Yeah, just
I think Heavy Mob Cemetery is a sick-looking super.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. This thing looks fantastic, but every time
I think it would have been a lot
my
better
soul
if
is
Soul
going to
still had Dragon Install, but that was like a Dragon Install exclusive super.
Actually, let me add something to this. The other way this could have gone is if Dragon Install is gone, but like every super and maybe even some specials have Dragon Install in them. He's just casually flashing into it, which would be an interesting way to show how he's progressed with like him fighting.
You know what?
That would be a step in the right direction.
Like if we can't have Dragon install, you could put the Dragon install into Soul. In fact, you could make something interesting with Soul where you give him effectively like EX moves and have those
Have
like
Soul
I feel like they
be half installed the entire time.
Force break, Brian. That sounds like force breaks.
yeah, basically.
Those have been around for years.
Basically.
God, I miss those.
Uh,
But like,
I'm just gonna assume you guys heard me because you all went really weird on my end.
I think so. What did you say?
I'm just gonna assume you guys heard me because you went weird on my end.
Yeah. But how about that UI and how it's
Boring. It
It's-
doesn't look like Guilty Gear at all.
like some people could say that about Exode, but I would disagree with that. But it's definitely not fucking.
Well,
I
Exert had a
want-
style to
okay.
it across all the versions.
I'm gonna throw in my thing because it's probably gonna be the most different. I don't mind the UI being like this. It's like whatever. The number stuff is weird, but otherwise, it's not partially non-functional like how it originally was, where the burst meter moved with your health bar.
It has gotten better. Like,
It is a
when I
functional
first
UI.
Saw, like the first build of the
Yeah.
game.
It's
Like,
functional.
I thought there were like I thought like I didn't know what I was seeing. Like I mean it just looked like mobile game UI. Like it had like lime green. It had like bits of like orange, like a weird soft orange. Like it had hearts and chips
Mhm.
all over. It's like that's not Guilty Gear. And like I had a feeling that maybe that was placeholder, but the thing is, when it comes to arc and like variations changing, like I was worried that it was still going to be that way. And on top of that, that was the first time we saw where they wanted to include the burst icon to move with the health bar, which is the most like mind-blowingly like ridiculous change for me.
It felt like them trying to like reinvent.
Again, a lot of the thing is reinventing of the wheel. It's like you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I think the risk gauge and the burst gauge are just fine.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
when I'm looking at my team here right now, and maybe I pinpoint on like one character or the other, like it really doesn't take me too long. Like it only takes me like half a second to just glance over my burst.
Mhm.
But on top of that, when I just kind of encompass the screen as a whole, I can see it flashing blue when it's ready.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it didn't need to do that. Like, but again, you know, I know like when it comes to other UI elements for other fighting games, like Street Fighter didn't change because it didn't need to. KOF didn't change because it didn't need to.
Mhm.
The thing is, right? Again, it's Arc looking at certain aspects of the game that they think could be there. It's like insecure, like that. You know, an insecure friend who's just like trying to pick out like, do my friends like me? They probably don't like me because of this one thing. It's like, no, dude, no. That's not at all the reason. You're looking way too in.
Mhm.
And they looked
Yeah.
way too into the UI initially.
The
Yeah, you're
UI has like no identity for itself, I feel.
Even the current UI,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
just-
it looks like and we will admit, compared to the first and second iteration, it's
Oh, yeah,
better.
it's
It is
better.
very
It does look
better.
better.
But apart with the menu thing, this may be because boomer moment right here. I like with how everything kind of just looked like streamlined or rounded, I guess.
Everything
the
does
UI,
feel a lot
like,
smoother, a lot
It's nice
softer.
UI, but for Guilty Gear, like that, it just doesn't have a character. It's like I'm looking at some of the UI from the past games. Like I could see like really nice shading. I could see that they went for like a metal look. Like I mean,
Oh yeah.
both figuratively and literally.
Mhm.
Like looking at like Revelators, like I can see like the UI that has character.
Mhm.
Like I can
Mhm.
see like what appears to be just like, like stainless steel or like tempered iron and stuff. Like I can
Mhm.
see it. Like it looks nice. Like the portraits have chains around it.
Mhm.
Like it was really cool to look at. And the timer is like just a ball of fire in which every time it goes down, like especially when it gets to like what is it, like 20 to 10 seconds, the flames start to turn purple. It just looked really cool. Like I could sit and look at it and be like, that's a good UI. That's a really good UI. But this one,
Yeah.
it's just so bare. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's just
It's a functional
it's just
UI.
So bare.
It's a functional UI, but it doesn't have any character.
No.
Oh, I think we're kind of hitting on something because kind of what we keep coming back to in terms of the game. Like, it worked, but it isn't right.
It's not
It
Guilty
doesn't-
Gear.
It doesn't. It's like. I guess it's like going and moving to a different like home because I can test this because I moved very recently and like getting used to it. Like certainly there's aspects I still don't like about this place, but like it's functional as a home, but just it doesn't feel right in my immediate memory when it comes to what I think of home, right?
Mhm.
If you get what I mean there.
I get that.
But but there's like probably many other comparisons to make with it. Like, yeah, I guess what's another UI that changed that was just like, why did they even do that?
I'm trying to think of. I mean, not quite changing why they even do that, but I'm thinking about something as simple as the JoJo's Heritage to the Future UI. That one has some charm to it.
Yeah.
Or like even the character selection stripe is really bland.
Mm-hmm. I mean, compare that to the other game Ox made, the mainline Blaze Blue, so not cross stack. Those have character. I mean, the thing is, it looks anime as shit, but that's the art style of Blaze
It's got
Blue.
an aesthetic that that it embraces.
Yeah.
Same with like same with like Accent Core and Exerd, like especially because like I thought Accent Cores was cool because it had like a different font and color for each character's name.
Stylized font.
That's
matching
cool
the
as shit.
personalities of the characters.
Heck, even like yeah, like hell, even games like fucking Third Strike's character select has more personality to it.
I mean,
Like that's from what I remember looking at it. Yeah, I remember like
that looks nice.
and
It's got color.
like, but you look at Strive, like
It
Strive's
has rap music.
but like Strive was just like no, like there's a very blurry background, two like slightly tilted red rectangles, and just like the character.
it looks like an indie fighter.
You know what it does? It really
It looks
does.
like what?
It looks like an indie game fighter, which you know for an indie game fighter, yeah, look, that's.
I mean,
fine.
you
Like,
say-
that's good, but again,
Then
you can't.
now that you say that, I mean, you say that, and I think about it, fucking Akatsuki Blitzcomp and Undernight have more character to the character select.
Hell, Melty Blood
Yeah.
has more character. Like, look at that.
For me, like I look at it differently just because it's one of those things that's like remarkable to me because of how, I guess, almost how unremarkable it is. How much is missing, like those
Right, and that's
minimalist
a fair
things.
comparison because mostly like out of all of you're the one who's looking more onto it like just like generally as a fighting game.
Yeah,
Again, as a fighting like even the UI, I get like I said like it looks like an indie game.
It
fighter,
works.
which is fine. It's like that's fine. That's not a bad thing at all. There's plenty of like indie game fighting games that I've seen that are very on the similar level, but I still like the look. But again, it all kind of just comes back to the fact that this is a Guilty Gear game.
Mhm.
It's you can't make it like if you make a new game, it's going to be very hard for me to pick apart something that I know is something that's completely brand new to it. So there's nothing really that was being taken away or added onto. But like again, the problem is that you have Guilty Gear in the title, and as someone who is a very long time fan of Guilty, who likes these games very much, and to see it take these like directions that wouldn't really feel like a Guilty Gear game. And I'm not saying it doesn't all go like all the way feel like Guilty Gear. Let's get this out of the way. Like in terms of like the criticisms with like the Galaxy Comics, I'm not saying the game didn't have problems. I'm not saying it doesn't always feel like Guilty Gear. There's certain aspects that don't feel like it. It's a little hard to explain. For anyone who knows London.
The thing is that not everyone feels like Guilty Gear. In fact, most characters don't feel like Guilty Gear. But you are right, there are some people who still do. Fuck, man. I love playing as Potemkin in Strive. Like, I've never touched Potemkin before I played Strive. and I actually had a fucking blast playing him. But I didn't
Same.
like. But I didn't get the same amount like enjoyment I got out of Kai.
And
When
Because he felt stripped.
yeah, he
like- Kevin and I hated playing Soul.
It was crushing because on top of the fact that I didn't have Dragon Soul, it's just like the stuff that Soul had. Like I absolutely abhor what they did to Bandit Bringer, one of my more favorite moves, and the way that they made like some of his specials work. The fact that like my favorite version of Volcanic Viper is so slow. Like it's still a good reversal. It's always been the good reversal. It's always been. But trying to incorporate in combos was really, really weird. Like I have to use the light version, but don't send them too high or something like that. But or like Fafnir causing a ground bounce, but Bandit Bringer just bringing them hard to the ground. It's like what?
So, like, one of the ways to also sum this up is that it's the audience is aimed at is not the main one that already buys it.
yeah.
And I think that's a problem because like I think there's a way. Like I think there is a way you can cater to both, but it just seems like a little weird that they're really focusing on some. If you gotta do that, you gotta do that.
The issue is
like
that
the thing is, you have to understand in the future, like, how long are the new people going to stick around? And you've already kind of put off most of your hardcore fan base. And I'm sorry, I was
about to say, the issue is that the way you want to get more people in is that first of all you have natural growth for like word of mouth and whatnot. But another thing they should have done is rather than making Guilty Gear, stripping away Guilty Gear of like what makes Guilty Gear, what they should have done is they should have tried to make it easier to understand the fundamental concepts of it. Despite playing despite been messing around with Guilty Gear since high school, like 3 or 4 years ago, it wasn't until like a year ago I truly understand what the hell a Gatling is. And like that's the thing you need to do if you want to get people into Guilty Gear. You gotta be like, here's a good explanation of what a Gatling is. Here's a good example of that. So people are like, oh, that's a Gatling. Okay, I can maybe see, and people and the people who do play fighting games who maybe they don't know they like how Guilty Gear would play, and having the experience of being like, oh, that's a Gatling. Oh, to them, they'll be like, oh, that actually seems like kind of fun. I might play more of it.
That's part of why I got really into Under Night as when I got was because the tutorial was so good at explaining that to you. Explaining how like reverse beats and shit worked. It's and more fighting games should be like Arxis should do more like that. Actually teach you how that works, how Gatlings work. And I think
which is weird because Xrd did this pretty well.
Yeah, it did. Revelator did that pretty well from what I remember.
I think a Guilty Gear game selling point should be what can't you do in this game? Versus like, we're gonna limit these options because we know that the casual audience isn't going to dive deep into this stuff.
Yeah.
Like the thing with that as well is that you can still have like these deep mechanics that casuals won't even fucking use. I remember getting into Guilty Gear, and I fucking didn't really use Blitz. I still don't use Blitz much nowadays. It wasn't.
Didn't start using Roman canceling until like a few months ago, but I enjoy Exert a lot more now that I know how those work.
Like Roman cancels is like an absolute game changer and something that Arc System Works brought to the table when it comes to like an extra level of like fucking like of combat that I wasn't even I wouldn't have even thought to include in the game. It is so fun to use and for the most like the new Roman cancel system that works fun. That's very fun to work with. It's very great.
Yeah.
They expanded on it like a little bit. Like I'm a little sad that there's not, that there isn't really, YRC anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm a filthy soul player, so I do gunplay YRC like that. Or, like,
Amen,
no problem.
brother.
Yeah. So but that's okay, I guess, because at least the the red Roman castles, I would say for me, my most important part of the way I do combos. That's still there. That feels great. The fact that you can dash before you do an RRC to basically position yourself closer to the opponent for just easy conversions. It's great. It feels great. And I'll say this much: I do want to give the game some credit, because when we're talking about this, we mean this as a genuine passion for the game, right? We want this to be better. Just right now, it's not.
We're recording this and talking about this beta, complaining about it because we love Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
It's a fun fighting game, and we want it to still be fun.
For anyone, but I guess more importantly us, because we're the ones who's playing it.
So I think we're about wrapping up, and I want to put in one thing. There's been a lot, I've been pretty quiet on a lot of things. There's been a lot of high level stuff that kind of flown over my head.
Fine.
But even so, let me point this out. Even so, there are big issues that even my dumbass, all the way down here at the bottom of the skill floor, can see plain as day and feel plain as day, and it feels weird. These are things that affect all the skill levels.
Well, I guess if we...
And I feel like that should say a lot, considering they're trying to make it, simplify it for casual players.
I guess since we're getting close to the time for the classic finale of a lot of things, final thoughts. If anyone wants to go on one last minute tangent about anything and everything within Strive / Griddle Guilty Gear.
Alright, I can. I would like to go first with this one because it'll probably be quick. There are things I like about Strive, but it's like I'm missing 2 of my limbs, and now nothing quite feels right. Because now the options are more limited, and everything's a lot more cramped, so it's harder to move. So it's just this feels weird. And that's just kind of the over-under on what's going on with, at least me, anyway.
Do you have any final thoughts, George?
I know for sure, I did not have a fun time playing Strive, as you could probably guess from the things I've said. I mean, I only had fun playing this game, Brian, when you and I were both playing pot. But, if I do get Strive, it's not going to be at full price. And I'm probably going to wait until more characters are out, because there's not enough in it to make me want to invest any time into it. It's too bare bones to the point that it's not fun for me to learn. I didn't really have fun messing with Kai or Solar. I didn't even have that much fun labbing with Potemkin. Because I just felt I've done everything I can do with this character. And it's not very satisfying to play, and guess that's my thoughts. Oh wait, one last thing. Give Exert rollback. Do that, Artemis. Please. You did good.
You can do it.
You did good doing it with Accent Core. Now do it with Exert.
Hey, if you want...
Alright, that's my final thoughts.
Alright, Kevin, your final thoughts?
Well, I pretty much just laid it all out during the entire length of this thing, but I guess closing thought is the game can be a lot better. There's things that it's just sorely missing and things that just did not need to be taken out. I can only pray to Daisuke-sama that he will direct this game to be the game that I want it to be. That's all.
All right.
And yeah, I can't really say both times that this will be an at launch purchase, like something. If it's on sale, then yeah, go ahead and get it. And I guess to add on to what George says, bring rollback to Central Fiction, please.
Another good
That
choice.
too.
I'll add that to mine.
I would say, I would also say, like, French Bread do it with Undernight, but they're actually trying to do
Yeah,
that.
they're trying to implement it, so I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, we're not going to.
Yeah.
They'll do that when they.
Mm-hmm. I guess my final thoughts is, well, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. Well, I don't know why I'm having a hard time grasping words right now.
We're doing a video,
It's
so
late.
there's a little bit of choke. That's all good. That's what happens.
Well, it's a functional game, but it doesn't really have the same character of Guilty Gear. And the fact that it is a much smaller, it's a much cramper feeling game.
Yeah.
It's
Like, that, you really hit it there, Rob.
Thanks.
and it's just that all that just really doesn't have the same amount of enjoyment. And that cramp feeling is particularly felt vertically, because like even the most basic Kai combo that I like to do, being Greed Servo, Close Slash, Crash and Heavy Slash, up into there in like Vapor Thrust or whatever, you can't do anything like that in Strive, because the fact that just how everything feels like that, and that's not even like a particularly damaging or hard to pull off combo. The only part that might be a bit difficult is that if you're entirely new to the genre, you don't quite grasp jump cancels. But the fact that everything with this direction of Strive is very much, it feels like a misguided direction to take the series. In terms of its gameplay, mostly the gameplay, it feels like a misguided thing. What I can say positively about it is that it looks good, the music's pretty good. I mean, Society is a fun song to sing. But we do live in a society, but like something like we're all like mostly the gameplay and the more minor things like the UI and whatnot. It's a UI. I'm not gonna lose sleep over Guilty Gear having a weird UI, but it's like
if the game's good, yeah, I don't care about the UI. It's just on top of the gameplay decisions, the UI, it doesn't. It just
It's bland.
It's just something to also like. It's another thorn in our side that we also have to. On top of the
like if Exode had like a UI that was in Comic Sans, I would not mind that as much.
It's still a fun game to play.
It's still fun to play even if yeah.
There's a combos written in Comic Sans and you hear the beat.
Oh my god. But yeah, just it doesn't. It feels like a misguided direction to bring Guilty Gear. It doesn't have that cold feel to it, which I mean I can understand some people said I don't know what is Guilty Gear. It's a bit of a weird question, but I do know one thing, that while I can't fully put it into words what is Guilty Gear, I can say whatever it is, Strive isn't.